Gurus on Reality live Survivor 49 reaction. We've teased it for a few weeks. We finally are able to do it here. Xavier Aguiar and Mike Testa joining you tonight. After a pretty fun Survivor 49 episode, we've been grading on a curve throughout this entire season.
Yeah.
But Mike, for once, it finally felt like it was just a normal, watchable episode of Survivor.
It was good. I mean, it was a good episode. It was one of the episodes for sure. Again, we've been grading this season specifically on a curve because it's been pretty cut and dry. Every single episode, it's been okay. They're going to vote this person out most likely, and you rarely even get a second person. Even in the discussion. This episode, we actually had some drama. We had some strategizing. We had some twists, which we'll get into. It had a little bit of everything. We had another challenge that came down to a showdown. So we had some stuff in this episode, which is something that we were not able to say this much this season. So hopefully we're in for a good finish.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff has been teasing for weeks now doing these interview circuits that it's a fight to the finish and it's a really good end game. We said, at the end of the day, he's a spokesperson for the show. He's a producer, he's the creator, all these things. So obviously he's going to really kind of hype it up as much as he possibly can. But we were a little bit skeptical, but so far, today at least, the foundation was laid for a pretty fun endgame. So let's just get right into it, Mike. Let's just get right into the episode here. So we come into the beach post Tribal Council where Nate was blindsided, and Savannah immediately starts doing damage control, which made me laugh because it's so obvious from her character that she always wants to have control of the situation. And even when she had none, she's trying to grasp on something. She's trying to make connections. She's trying to kind of dampen the blow heading in her direction and try to reposition herself in the game. I just thought that was immediately kind of entertaining and comedic because it felt like, to me, she was clearly on the bottom. It seemed like she was inevitably next. But at the same time, she's still playing her game. She's still kind of going along with the script, if you will. I thought it was an interesting decision.
Yeah, also Blue Sophie doing the same thing. She goes up to Alex and Steven, and she's like, I'm on the bottom. Oh my gosh, I'm next. And Alex trying to calm her down, being like, no, Savannah and Rizzo are the big targets here. So it's a classic. We have our first blindside, and then we have the repercussions to the blindside back at camp, which is like the three people on the bottom are now scrambling. I guess Rizzo didn't really scramble per se, but Savannah and Sophie are immediately doing damage control. Like, wait, what just happened? Nate went home, and now I'm not in power. I'm not in control. So it was kind of a first for both of them. I mean, obviously, Sophie's been to a bunch of tribal councils, but Savannah, this is the first time all game where she admittedly says, I do not know what's going on. I have no idea what's happening. So it was kind of a reality check for her. Same thing happened to Jason a couple tribals earlier. It's like, oh, he's got to start playing the game now. It's like, wait, things aren't this easy in Survivor. There's blindsides that happen. So this is the first time that we really saw it happen in a larger scale with 11 people. Obviously, these smaller tribal councils with 5-6 people, you can't really get a true blindside because only a couple of votes and you're gone. With 11 people, this was a true shocker for the 7 people that voted against Nate. And the 3 people that are left, it was a true shocker to them that they are not running the game. They're not in the majority.
We immediately go to the next day now, and this is, I was just annoyed already. We were like 5 minutes into the episode, and I was already shaking my head.
Oh no!
We do another group idol hunting session, which we both talked about how annoying that was pre-merge, because they were waging this color war, as we kept talking about these last few weeks. And so they thought that it would be best that everyone knew about the idol. And that clearly went sideways as soon as Sage left, ratted out Rizzo, etc. We don't need to get into that.
Right.
But now, nearing the end game, it makes even less sense. Because what's the point? You never know who you can trust and who you can't trust. It's Kristina, Steven, and Alex. We never really figured that these three were in cahoots at all. It was very random to me. They all seemed like they were happy with each other, but this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know if that's bad editing. There was no foreshadowing whatsoever. So it could have been bad editing, or it could have just been kind of a weird kumbaya moment towards the end of this game, which we can't stand. And Kristina finds it, and I put in my notes, she's the #1 overall draft pick of absolutely least interesting people to hold the idol right now. Of anyone that could have gotten it, Kristina was by far the least interesting outcome.
Yes.
And again, she's trying, I suppose, but I barely noticed she's there, and now she finds an idol thanks to groupthink. It just felt like all that's bad with modern Survivor.
Yeah, Alex was the one who said, he tells us the confessional that everyone already knows. He's like, hey, when an idol's played, that means an idol's hidden back at camp. And I immediately light bulbs went off. I'm like, okay, that means he probably found it. He's telling us the story of how he gets the idol. And then they pan to Kristina being like, I've been looking for idols for 15 days. And then one just pops up right there. And then she finds it in front of Steven and Alex, who, like you mentioned, we have no idea why these three would ever be in a room together, or in this case, on an island. But they find it all together, and Kristina's immediately like, okay, well, if anyone had to know about my idol, thank God it's these two guys who I've been working with the entire time. It's like, wait, really? I didn't know that. I had no idea. So I thought that Alex was getting closer with Yellow Sophie. That's what I thought. That's what they were foreshadowing. And then Steven, I mean, that's her OG tribe member, obviously, but beats me. I didn't know that, but I guess Kristina has the idol. Steven and Alex were there to see it happen, and maybe they'll eventually use that as a threesome for a big move. Who knows? But it felt like a very, okay, well, she has the idol. Who cares? Back to whatever else is going on. It was not like one of those, oh my God, this person has the idol. Let me take him. Like, it didn't really feel like it mattered that much, because, like you said, that's probably the least entertaining person to possibly have the idol in their hands. Because it's just like, okay, Kristina, is she playing the game? Is she making moves? I don't know. Hasn't really had to yet, but she's got the idol. And again, the two guys that were there with her, feels like that might be one that they all use together in cahoots for something.
It felt like, based off of Alex's tone, perhaps, that they're going to blindside her eventually to get the idol back in play again. That's what it felt like to me. But it just, nothing really came of this segment for me, besides the idol being found. But after the segment, I was much more interested in what was going on, because to me, it felt like Steven was kind of getting a mastermind at it here. He was getting a lot of confessionals early in this episode, and he was basically kind of talking about he's running the game right now. He's calling the shots. And one of the funniest things about this entire season is about how everyone who was alleged on the bottom, who were never really in danger of going home, because they either weren't in danger at Tribal, or they just didn't go to Tribal, because two of these early tribes just didn't go to Tribal. So there is that. But regardless, Steven's like, yeah, I'm on top now. And we're like, Steven, you never were really on the bottom. You thought you were for maybe a half second, but that was it. So I thought that was kind of funny. Clearly, that's setting up to something, that Steven thinks he's running the show. And
he also got 3 votes voted against, or he got 4 votes voted against him. So is he running the show, or is he their number one target, is how I would look at it. But
well, I think for him, he's using that. But in reality, he had no chance of going home. The way the vote shaped out, it was very clear that everyone was kind of gung-ho support of Steven. So he can kind of use this underdog mentality all he wants. We talk about it all the time in sports. It doesn't matter if you're a team like Kansas City that's won 3 Super Bowls in the last however many years. If you're an underdog at any given time, you kind of use that to your advantage.
100%.
And to me, Steven was doing the same kind of thing. I just thought it was kind of comical that he was trying to say, like, oh, I was so close of going home. Like, no, you really weren't. You guys were in pretty firm position on the other side.
Yeah, I just want to real quick to go back to the idol thing with Kristina having it.
Yeah, please.
What would interest me, the only thing that would interest me about this is if Alex reconnects with his OG Kella member, Blue Sophie, tells her that Kristina has the idol, and then she uses her knowledge as pattern.
Yes.
If Blue Sophie had the idol and took
Great
it right
shout.
Yeah, if she straight up takes the idol from Kristina, which we said last week, she missed an opportunity to do it with MC. Maybe she has another opportunity to do it with Kristina here. I mean, that was as quick an idol as I've seen it. I mean, it happened in the first 10 minutes of the episode. The idol was found. It's like, okay, well, it's back in play and it's found. I mean, so.
And Mike, can we put a pin in that? We blew up Sophie last week for not using that knowledge as power.
We did. Yes, we
Let's just put a pin in that, and we're going to get back to that later on maybe why, indirectly, that was an amazing move, even though it shouldn't have been. I think she failed into success with that.
Right, but maybe it'll help her in the long term, yes. But, yeah, that and then I want to get back to Juwan and Steven got a lot of airtime in the pre-challenge portion of it. So that made me my wheels were turning. I was like, okay, Juwan and Steven, are they in trouble maybe? Are they like the kingpins who are going to be, kind of snatched from their perch? We see Juwan, he's kind of petrified of Savannah. And then I want to get to the part here where Savannah and Sage are at the water well. I believe we were touching on this time. And it's very awkward. Sage is kind of calling Savannah a mean girl in the confessionals. She's like, I can be a mean girl too. It's another issue that Sage has with a woman, which is kind of a commonality now at this point. Savannah then kind of has a depiction of Sage like she's like the victim with the knife in her hand. It's a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of analogies going on. It feels like they have the new Shannon and Sage beef, but it's now Savannah and Sage. So it's a new beef here between these two OG Uli women. What did we make about that? And then obviously right after that, Savannah feels like she's on the bottom and she's like the outcast of this entire group.
Oh yeah, arguably the best read in the entire season until later in this episode, because Savannah's 100% correct, and I made the criticism with Steven, but my God, could you really use it for Sage? Sage was never in danger of going home. She
No.
never had a chance of going home this entire game. She was definitely on the bottom of the original Red Tribe for sure. There was no doubt about that. But I think they might have went Juwan. The longer it went, the more I was thinking if they were going to tribal, I think Juwan was the one going home. And then beyond that, after the swap, it seems like they took in Sage more so than Shannon. And then the last episode, Sage is on the right end of a big power move.
Yeah.
So what is Sage doing at this point? I allow like one victim thing at the beginning of the season.
Of course.
When, there was a chance that her game was going sideways. But it's been persistent now for a few weeks, and I'm so tired of it. Like, she's not a victim of anyone, and to suggest that Savannah was a mean girl because she made a sarcastic joke about a chicken, are you kidding me? Like, my God.
We're still on the chicken thing. I know.
Yeah, and it's just not that big of a deal. It was clearly a joke. She wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable. She frames all these things as if they're the worst thing that's ever been said to her. It was never that deep, ever.
Yeah, the way she was telling Blue Sophie on the beach, how it made her feel, how she called it General Chow or something like that. Like she's naming the chickens, and it's making her uncomfortable by naming the chicken something. We've always had chickens be named something. They always call them that, whatever. But that was the way she's telling stories is very interesting. I thought it was funny at the water well where she's like, I don't know what we're doing next. I'm just a part of this thing. I don't actually have any idea what's going on. Like, she's not actually calling the shots. And now, again, if it was up to her and if she was calling the shots, Savannah would be going home. Or last week episode, she would have gone home. So
yeah,
Sage isn't directly calling the shots, but to act like she has no idea what's going on and she's just kind of like, I'm just going with the majority. That's not how she's playing the game. So she's being deceitful, even though she's saying I'm this victim that is not really, I'm getting strung along. Like, that's not exactly what's happening. But she's kind of doing it in this awkward way with Savannah. I think they both see through it. In a way, I don't think either of them are stupid enough to kind of. They're both lying to each other's faces, but they're not. No one's buying it essentially. Especially with Sage. Sage is like, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. What's going to happen next? Even though she knows what's going on.
But I think for Sage, it's not working anymore. Like I think other people are starting to catch up on it now. And if you're always cynical, it's going to come back to bite you because no one's going to be able to trust you. If all you're doing is moping and trying to play straight and never give anyone anything outside of maybe Juwan, that's not a formula of good play. And it's not like she ever really has a chance to win one of the immunity necklaces either, so it seems right now. No. So it feels like she needs to build connections, and all she's doing is isolating people that at one point seemed fine to string her along. Because in the same token, you want to be strung along a little bit in Survivor, at least to an extent. And Sage seems almost annoyed being strung along, but she's not in a position to be a power player either. So I was just annoyed with all of this. But I will say this one thing, Mike, switching gears here. We've complained about the sob stories forever. We can't stand it. It's constant. This is the first sob story I liked in a long time. And here's why. Because Savannah used it to her advantage.
Yes.
Savannah saw she was on the bottom. She knows Steven's an emotional human being. She pulls him aside, tells him this anecdote about being kind of iced out at work and being stuck in her contract and not being able to jump jobs. She was in this unfortunate situation, and it really made her feel like after the last vote that she was back in that unfortunate situation. Right. And people can kind of relate to that. It's an easily relatable thing. It's not like your great-great-grandfather fled a war. It's something that, everyone can kind of perceive in their mind. Everyone's worked and whatnot. So Steven was buying it. And I thought that was important. And I thought that was in the episode for a reason. Yes. And I don't think it was just because Survivor's obsessed with tears. I truly think that this was leading up to something. Maybe it's stabbing Steven in the back. It could be this Ice Queen edit that people have pitched. And so far, I'm definitely getting that vibe. But I thought this was, if nothing else, building something for the next few weeks.
Well, it wasn't like like when I say sob stories, usually the sob stories have nothing to do with the actual game. This one directly, it was a perfect analogy for the game. So she felt iced out at work, and in this game, she felt like how she did in that sense. So yes, it's not like a war thing where this isn't like Survivor is a little bit. It's a social experiment. So this was more of a actual thing that you could relate it to the game of Survivor in a sense. So she's making a human connection, but it's also it also makes sense in the game how she's feeling, because she didn't just pick up one day and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna tell him the sob story. No, it actually had a direct correlation to what was going on in the very edit that we just saw in tonight's episode. So it wasn't like she just brought it out of nowhere on day 16 to Steven's, behalf, and she's like, hey, let me tell you this story that I could have told you 2 weeks ago. No, it came at a very right time, considering she just got blindsided. In fact, she wrote Steven's name down. So I thought it was very interesting that she went to Steven specifically. The guy she wrote his name down 1 day prior. I thought she was going to do it to somebody else, maybe someone that's not higher up in the alliance, like a Kristina or someone else. I don't know. But it was interesting that she went right to Steven to do it. But it was a legitimate human connection that she felt like she could tell specifically him. Whether or not, I don't know if she thinks it's because he's calling the shots or not. So maybe I can get on his good side in that. I don't think that's really what went on there. I think it was just genuinely that's how she felt because of the situation that she experienced with him. So I think that one actually made sense. Some of these sob stories we get on day 8 or 9, I'm like, what does that have to do with the episode? I feel like that was just in there. Like Survivor, like CBS loves just having those in there randomly. It's like, well, how does that have anything to do with the episode? This one, it came directly off of, and it was edited well because it came right off the water well thing where she was kind of just like Sage was talking to her as if she wasn't really there. And then she related it back to that. So I thought that was interesting the way it was edited in, and it wasn't just there for no reason. Like we see, we say it enough times where the sob stories are kind of just there in Survivor for no reason. This one wasn't there for no reason.
No, there's clearly purpose behind it. At least she was trying to make it a game move, in my opinion. I think obviously she felt that way and her feelings were genuine, but it was evident to me that wasn't by accident. It wasn't just trauma dumping like some of these other people. But no. Mike, this is a big Savannah episode because the comps next, which was really early, so my antenna immediately went off. I thought it was a reward. I thought it was a reward. I did too. Really, really early in this episode, within the first half hour, we get the competition. And this is where things go out of control for me in this episode. This is where Survivor just loses the plot, in my opinion. So we do the classic balance against the wall thing. It's a long-standing competition. I put immediately, this is always favored smaller women because their feet are smaller, so naturally they can balance on the little platforms easier. And especially ones that are fit, they can kind of just stand there. That's just kind of how it goes. So that's what we're working with immediately. But for some reason, Jeff and the producers think it's a great idea to do a group element to this. So it's 5-on-5. So it is Rizzo, MC, Sophie, Juwan, and Sage taking on Soph, Savannah, Steven, Kristina, and Alex. The losing team goes to tribal. The winners get rewarded with food and whatnot. And in the actual winner, the person who lasts the longest gets an advantage.
Right. Plus,
I hated this so much. I think this was super forced. I thought it was obviously an attempt to shape up the game. I hate steamrolls as much as the next person, and I understand that as much of this is a game, it is entertainment. You need to have some element of surprise here. But at the same time, this felt way too overstepping. I don't know how you felt about this. I just thought this was an obvious ploy to try to at least figure out some cracks within this dominant alliance that we saw the last episode.
Yeah, it was 7 versus 3. And again, I unfortunately came across the leak where it's like, hey, by the way, Survivor, this next preview, they're going back to 2 tribes of 5, which I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense because how are they possibly going to be the 3 versus 7 odds? Again, I've only seen it happen once, and it was in the FOA season with Samoa, season 19. So how could they possibly be the 3 versus 7 odd? Well, here's how you can do it. You can split them into 2 groups of 5. And so in a new era classic, and this isn't unfamiliar because it's happening in the 7 versus 3, but it's happened in a bunch of new era seasons where we'd merge. And then guess what? After 2 episodes, we'd be like, you know what? Let's go back to 2 tribes after we already merged. So it's happened a lot here in the new era, which is why I hate the new era, but for mostly. So they go from a merged tribe already to 2 tribes of 5, essentially. So now it's back to where we started, basically. It's like you have nowhere to hide. A tribe of 5 is, I mean, we've seen it with all these tribes, basically. You only need 3 votes and you're gone. Especially with like the lack of people sometimes losing their votes. Like it changed the game dramatically. So it's no longer 7 versus 3. They split them up to where obviously Blue, Sophie, and Savannah are on the same tribe together. So immediately, if one of those 2 smaller women win, they're both safe. If just one of them wins, then they're both straight because it's a tribal immunity. It's not just, oh yeah, they win the immunity necklace. Your entire team basically wins the immunity necklace. I mean, they're all not going to tribal council. So it's back to tribal immunity basically. So obviously Sage and Blue Sophie, or not Savannah and Blue Sophie are in a good spot if one of them win because they're both safe. And then Rizzo has the idol. So essentially all 3 of them are immune potentially in one episode, and it's a 7 versus 3 disadvantage. So it kind of played directly how it was like a perfect storm that could happen there. And that's how you flip a 3 versus 7 if you can.
I understand the people that like this because it really puts a strain on your social game. Like this is where you really see how people are perceived by everyone else. So there is that element, and this is a strategic show at the end of the day. But I thought it was just a cop out, and I like the 3 people in the alliance as well, the minority alliance from last episode.
The majority's everything.
But it just felt forced. But regardless, we get down to the final 2. It's Sophie versus Savannah, and I thought this was kind of funny. Not for a second did I think Savannah was losing this, because Sophie was kind of falling and looking in agony the entire time. But I thought it was really funny the disdain Sophie showed for Savannah, because obviously Savannah's on the other side, but I thought it was a little bit extra. She kept rolling her eyes, she was shaking her head, and I don't think Savannah necessarily meant it that way, but as soon as she heard that Sophie was kind of like doing these things, Savannah really seemed to turn it on. She was just playing it up that she was totally fine, which I thought was really funny.
By the way, thanks, Jeff, for telling everyone he kept telling each woman the facial expressions. He's like, facial expressions aren't everything, but it's really looking tough for Yellow Sophie here. And then, Savannah's starting to struggle. It's like Jeff was telling, because obviously you can't see each other. It's a wall. So neither women could see the other person's pain that they were in. But Jeff kept telling everybody, the audience and both women, how much pain Yellow Sophie was in, the faces that she was making. It was a lot of like, they both know, even though they can't see what's going on. It was very like, Savannah knew how much pain she was in, thanks to Jeff. And she couldn't see her rolling her eyes necessarily, but she heard all the facial expressions that were being described by Jeff and everyone else. So it was, but yeah, like you said, I never thought Savannah would lose that challenge.
Yeah, she won fairly comfortably. And after the comp, I don't know if he said this immediately, Jeff, but he said it afterwards for sure, and it definitely got a reaction. No communication between the winning tribe, which again, to reiterate, was Soph, Savannah, Steven, Kristina, and Alex. So they are all safe. It is Rizzo, MC, Sophie, Juwan, and Sage on the chopping block tonight. But no communication, I thought, was really strange. I again, another forced kind of twist, and there was just layer upon layer to this. But regardless, Sophie thinks Rizzo is drunk as soon as they get back. After this comp, Sophie thinks Rizzo is not going to play his idol, that they're all going to be able to somehow put all the votes on Rizzo, and he's not going to play his idol. I thought that was immediately the first ridiculous thing Sophie did, and little to my knowledge, she had about 10 things ready in the chamber to up that. But this is where we get to, does Sophie have any idea what's going on this island portion of our episode, which I did enjoy. But first, before we get to that full thing, I do want to say, I thought the dynamic at the reward was kind of funny, because it felt like Steven, Kristina, and Alex were like, oh yeah, Savannah, thanks for saving us. Like, that was awesome. Like, that was really cool. Hey, what do you think's gonna happen over there? Like, you don't think Rizzo's gonna do anything too crazy, right? Like, oh yeah, Sophie's gone. Like, she's out of here. It felt like they were trying to play the part, if you will, of being still cool with Savannah, and Savannah's like, whatever you guys think. Like, really? Wow. So I just thought that was interesting. What did you make of that dynamic?
Oh, the only person who was genuinely excited for Savannah to win was Blue Sophie, or in this case now Soph. I don't know why she's getting called Soph, but I prefer Blue Sophie. Blue Sophie knew that her butt was on the line and Savannah's was on the line if they didn't win. It was going to be one of those two. So when Savannah won, she was the one that was most excited. I think all the other ones just wanted food. I think that's really what it boiled down to. They just wanted food. I didn't like to go back. I did not like the fact that we're not even seeing each other. Like, why are we going back to the old Uli beach? Why is that even still a beach? Why are we still going there? We disbanded. We went from 3 to 2, and we just discarded Uli, that whole beach.
Yeah, I thought we were past this.
Then we went back to 3. It's like, all right, I guess we got to go back to Uli Beach. And then we merged again. It's like, okay, now we're finally done with Uli Beach. And it's like, now 2 episodes later, we're back in Uli Beach. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, why are we still going there? We could have just had one big tribe, and then obviously only 6 of them vote. I mean, we've seen it in the past. But either way, they want to do another new twist. But the whole reward challenge, I didn't make. I mean, it's just general. You're making good, even though you're obviously not on you're on opposite sides of the game. But I mean, obviously, Blue Sophie was excited she won. Everyone else was just playing a part, and was just happy that they were eating food. It's really what it boiled down to.
Yeah, I got that exact same vibe as well. But after this little meal that they had, Savannah goes to tree mail. gets an upgrade, an advantage, but to me, it was a complete game upgrade. That's what I thought about it. It felt like she reached the next level in a video game,
Yeah, it's like,
and this was so ridiculous. She gets to go to the other beach now with the people up to go home tonight, and she can vote if she so chooses. But if she doesn't want to, don't worry, she can keep her vote. So not only did she win immunity, not only did she win a reward for everyone around her, she got to eat and whatnot, replenish. She also got to listen in on the other 5, and then she got a vote on top of that. That is a 4-layered reward.
She got to choose whether she wanted to vote or not. She had an option. She had no
option. Yeah, 4.5, given the fact that she gets to choose.
Yeah.
What is happening? This felt like they were like, Savannah, you need a life raft? Here's 5 of them. I couldn't get over this.
Here's a boat. I mean, no, she literally got on a boat and went right to, I mean, forget about the voting part, because that's obviously a huge thing. Getting an extra vote and having to not use it by a certain date is huge. Because usually it's like you have to use your extra vote by this final time, whatever. She can use it whenever she wants. She can save it for whenever she actually needs it. Forget all that. She's the only one of the winning tribe that gets to go to the other beach. She's totally safe, and she gets to actually strategize and listen into the conversations that no one else is listening into. So she's getting the best of both worlds. She's winning. She's safe, obviously. And she gets to listen in and get some serious intel. Whether she wants to vote or not is kind of irrelevant, because she's not only just going to their camp. It's not like she has to leave before tribal council. She gets to also go to tribal council and listen to all the things that are going out there, so that she gets to see all the dirty laundry that's being aired out, and then choose whether or not she wants to vote. She's like, do I need to vote right now? Is Rizzo going to be safe? I know I'm safe, so maybe I just won't vote. She had the choices of everything there. So it was, I texted you in the middle of the habit. I said, this feels like a very overpowered advantage. At first, I thought it was just the Saul one. I was like, okay, he gets to send an extra vote. Somebody, I mean, if he wants to, he can, help somebody else out there. So I thought, okay, maybe she'll just give an extra vote to Rizzo. That's what I thought initially was. I was like, okay, she's gonna have a chance.
I completely agree. First thing I thought of was that.
Right, she'll have a chance to impact the other vote, the vote here, but she won't be actually at tribal. She won't actually be at the camp listening and all the conversation. I thought she was just gonna, okay, maybe extend a lifeline to Rizzo, who's like her number 1. Nope, right. Way better than that. She actually gets to go on a boat and talk to everybody there and see what's going on for real before she decides whether or not she wants to vote or not. And she's already safe. That was forget a life raft. She got a literal boat that just came and picked her up, and that was a game-changing move. That was like up there with, well, not up there with the hourglass move, but it was right up there with one of the bigger advantages you'll see in the new era.
Yeah, and it was a little much for me. I like Savannah, so I can't complain too much. But I just thought it was a little much. But once we got back to the beach and everyone's there, so it's Rizzo, MC, Sophie, Juwan, Sage, and then he throws Savannah in. Now things get fun, finally. So,
well, real quick, before that, I don't want to let Yellow Sophie off the hook here, because we're going to get into her a lot.
Oh, no, I was just going to go back. Let's do it, because I was just tiptoeing back here. Perfect. So Sophie just is on one this episode, but it seems to rub Juwan the wrong way immediately, because to Juwan, playing Survivor means you're doing too much, which I vehemently despise. I complained about it 2 weeks ago. I complained about it last week. I'll complain about it this week. I'm sure it'll happen next week. And until he goes, I'm going to complain about it because I can't stand it. This notion that Sophie was doing too much immediately was ridiculous. Now, was she doing too much eventually? Sure, but not at that time. Okay? So Sophie does what I think is a fine move initially. She's saying, like, let's write Juwan's name down. In case Rizzo plays the idol, this is before Savannah gets there. Correct. Let's write Juwan's name down. To me, that was a logical move. Yes. I thought that was that. Good move. End of story. You're not working with Juwan to the extent that you're working with an MC, for example, and clearly she trusts Sage a smidge more than Juwan. It doesn't really matter which of those two you want to write down. I think that's the right move. And here's the other part of the story, which Juwan did not really take into account. Maybe later he did, but Sophie was putting her own neck on the line. She said, make sure the vote's on me. Juwan was just an insurance policy, basically, against herself. Sophie still could have got voted out. Yes. She was just like, hey, I don't want it to be automatic. At least write down Juwan's name, which I think is fine. And here, to me, is where the malpractice begins. And it starts with MC, and then it trickles down. For some reason, MC thinks it's a good idea to tell Juwan this, which I think is a horrific move.
Really?
Because, well, listen, this is why. This is why.
Please tell me.
Sophie's a physical threat. For some reason, a lot of these people think Sophie is really tough, and I think she is. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I think overnight she became someone that was kind of in the background to a really high-level threat. And whether that's right or wrong is kind of irrelevant. That's the perception on the island right now. And we got that. I think it was genuine from the people at Reward talking about how they think Sophie is in trouble tonight because of her physical prowess at this point.
100%. She's been good in both. Yeah.
MC has been a physical threat the entire game. So if I'm MC, I'm like, hey, they're looking over there at Sophie. Let them look at Sophie. I'm not going to make any waves here because I want to be in a good position. I want to lay low. Their new obsession is Sophie. Let the target remain on Sophie. MC overplayed this badly. She really did, because she goes to Juwan, who she doesn't have a rapport with, as she mentioned, before she went to tell Juwan, which I think is always a funny move. We see this all the time with bad Survivor players. It's always like, hey, we don't have a rapport. I'm going to tell them this information, and we're going to be best friends again.
She was doing just way of, I'm going to build trust with you, essentially. Yeah.
Mike, it has like a 3% hit rate. It just does not work. It is not how this game is played. It's too far deep in this game. And what she did by not telling anyone about her idol and playing it showed signs of distrust and paranoia. It just simply did. So Juwan is like, oh my God, like I got to look out for Sophie. He does the whole Juwan thing. And he's terrified of her, because that's the other thing Juwan does. He's terrified of everyone. He can't play an offensive game. He has to also be the damsel in distress. Everyone's so scary. Everyone wants a little old me, Juwan. What am I supposed to do, even though I have the power tonight?
Oh, to Juwan, they're all sharks. They're like, oh my God, they're going to come and get me. He's like very, yes, continue. It's very,
it's just, it's so silly. And so we get to Rizzo here, who's like, looking around. Okay. Rizzo's about as stunned as everyone else. He's like, I think I can do this tonight. So Rizzo is talking about not using the idol. And I was like, no way he does this. Because to me, at this point, I'm still like, surely they're going to put some votes on Rizzo. They're going to smarten up and realize
not that stupid, yeah.
that this is, getting a little ridiculous now. And the best play is at least to flush Rizzo's idol. You play 1-1, and then you see where it goes. But Savannah's presence, which they don't really harp on a few times, Sophie, and I think Sage might have mentioned as well.
It's complicated now. She's like, yeah.
That it gets complicated. But I don't think the editing really honed in on the fact that I think Savannah really scared them off the Rizzo scent. Because they didn't know what Savannah had. She said she could vote. It seemed like some of them didn't really know that, even though she said it. There was some weird, stuff in the confessionals where they're like, she could vote, she might have a vote. It seems like they just didn't listen to what she said, even though she said it.
She could have been lying, though. She could have also been lying to their faces. She could have had
true. She could have been totally lying and just been there, which she technically was. Correct. So Rizzo goes to Sophie and is like, hey, we could strike a deal here. And Sophie gives him nothing. As far as entertaining this goes, this is like the grumpy old teacher still teaching kindergarten at age 70. That it's like, this is like the 50th kid I've had tell me this story. I'm over this at this point. She's like, yeah, I guess. Down the road, we could maybe do something. And Rizzo's kind of looking at her like, okay, this is a little weird. He literally clocks it immediately that she is just not really into this conversation. But Rizzo is doing a great job here, planting all the seeds to everyone that MC's a beast, Sophie's tough. He's doing a great job kind of throwing off his scent. And Juwan and Sage try to say that it's not working, but clearly it is. Clearly it is, because everyone is paranoid at this point, except Rizzo, who seems like the entire time he's in complete control of the situation. What did you make about Rizzo here? Just kind of going in and out, weaving his way through people, throwing the scent off himself.
Yeah, so Rizzo was the player of this game. Last episode, it was the Sage and Juwan show. Rizzo correctly assessed that MC is the biggest threat in the game. So he's right immediately when he says, this is the one we should be going after right now. Why are we going after Sophie? She's not going to win every challenge. She's not that good. These are two balancing challenges. We've seen like 6 previous challenges of MC dominating. We got 2 balancing challenges of Sophie being good. Okay, whatever, who cares? So that's a correct assessment by him. This
2 challenges that always catered to someone of Sophie's archetype.
Exactly right. That's bingo right there. So the whole episode, it was kind of just, your draft pick kind of outclassing my draft pick. I don't think MC played it terribly wrong. I think that her telling Juwan was not the mistake. I think that her playing the idol and blatantly telling Juwan, I don't trust you enough to save my idol, then telling Juwan was the mistake, because what she's trying to do is build trust with Juwan, which I agree with doing that. He's in the power position right now. That was fine. Unfortunately, a night earlier, she basically said that I don't trust Juwan enough to keep my idol safe. So that was the issue I had with the MC thing.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later because I have thoughts on that.
I want to circle back to Yellow Sophie because I want to go backtrack all the way to before Savannah got there. So now Yellow Sophie is totally fine with her name being thrown out as a decoy. Remember just 2 episodes prior when they were like, so guys, we're going to tell Nate that it's you. Remember Kristina telling the whole thing? Kristina's
in a lower stake situation. She was irate about it. But now that it's her idea coming out of her own mouth,
she's like, I'm the decoy. Yeah, it was very strange. I was like, wait a second. This is the Yellow Sophie that 2 episodes ago was vehemently against her being the decoy.
Mike, you know what this reminds me of? This is the number 1 insult you could say to someone, in my opinion. Okay. This is the equivalent of telling someone they smell that rather than telling yourself you smell, like after a workout or something like that. No one wants to be told they smell. Right. But if you say, oh, I kind of smell bad right now, you kind of laugh it off and then you're fine. It was the same kind of vibes here where because someone else said it, oh my God, they think so little of me. But because she said it herself now, it's okay. And I want you to hold a little bit off on Sophie. I want to.
Yeah, so I don't want to go fully in Aria. Okay, that's fine.
I want to wrap in here with I can't say what I put in my notes. There's a lot of cursing here.
Oh. Okay.
So Sophie talks to MC now, and she's like, "We're good, right?" And this is the least convincing. If she ever wants to go to Hollywood, this cannot be on her actress reel. No. This cannot be there. This is so inept of Sophie, who, again, is all over the place. She doesn't know what she's doing. As far as her star rose last episode, it came crashing to earth this episode because she's trying to do about 10 things at once. She is trying to flush Rizzo's idol. She's also trying to give herself an insurance policy against Juwan, and then also trying to give her an insurance policy against MC in case the Rizzo vote goes sideways.
Yep.
Then MC now has the target on her, and MC is just sitting there like, yeah, I don't believe any of this. Like, I can see it. And before MC said it, I said it because I was watching her face, and I was like, what is she doing? Who is she trying to fool here? So Sophie, from the moment we get to the beach till after Savannah arrives and right before tribal council, is doing her best to go home. She is trying everything. She is speed running how to tank your Survivor game rapidly. And it was just really impressive to watch because I, at least, if nothing else, I respected how she was playing before this. I thought she was doing a good job, kind of laying low. The tiff with Kristina was a little weird, but, I looked past it. Fine, whatever. You're allowed to be a little upset.
Foreshadowing, it's whatever. Yeah,
it throws your name out. But here, yikes, it was rough. So go off on your tangent.
Okay, well, before I want to do that, so I texted you and said there's an uptick in Sophie confessionals today. Yellow Sophie, of course. Who?
Yeah, you saw this immediately.
Yes, immediately in the episode, I said, that's weird. Last week it was because she won immunity, clearly, or they wouldn't have shown her that much. This week I figured, okay, is she just going to go home in like a blaze of fire? Because the way she's playing, it certainly looked like that's where we're headed because of the way that they were portraying her. So I want to again circle back to, well, actually, no, let's stay on the Rizzo thing because Rizzo is trying to actively save Sophie right now. He's trying to get the votes on MC. Sophie has about 5 different plans going on right now. She doesn't know that Rizzo is actually trying to save her. I mean, he did throw out MC's name, but she's thinking, okay, maybe the MC thing's going to go here. I still want to vote out Rizzo. Sage and Juwan are like, let's just stick to the plan about Rizzo. Everything's going on at once, and so Sophie doesn't clock that Rizzo is trying to work with her. He's like, hey, let's vote out MC. Let's blindside her. She's a huge threat. Let's work together. She's not clocking it at all. So,
which, if nothing else, Mike, she should have at least entertained. Because if the goal is to get out Rizzo, you at least have to make him comfortable. And she did not do that here. She was a little bit too combative. And again, if she just attempts it even a little bit to try to act like she's interested whatsoever. Perhaps this goes differently. But because she is so cold and so kind of lost in outer space trying to figure out what she's going to do,
I thought that
everything else is swirling around her and she has no idea what's going on.
I thought that her being so cold to Rizzo was actually going to be the reason why she went home. It looked like she was going to go home, and then Rizzo throwing out MC, which he correctly assesses. I thought, okay, Sophie's safe. And then he brings it to Sophie, and Sophie's like, "Yeah, see ya." And then I'm like, "Okay, maybe Sophie just sunk her own ship there." Obviously, she didn't. We'll get to why, but I want to go back to again. Sophie's her plan is to throw a rogue vote, which we got to that. I don't think that idea is not a bad idea. It was
a good idea, in my opinion.
First of all, we've seen it before. We've seen it literally. It saved Devin in season 36. Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, or season 35, Heroes versus Hustlers. So Ben, the idol king of that season, for no one knows that Ben won the season. Devin had a magic idea at Tribal Council. If Ben played another idol, which would have been his third in like 4 tribals, I'm gonna throw a vote on Dr. Mike for whatever reason, just because maybe Ben has another idol. Who knows? He's good at finding idols. He did have another idol. He played it. Devin got 1 vote on him by Ben, who he was trying to vote out. And Devin smartly put a rogue vote on Dr. Mike. Didn't tell anybody that he did it, but because Devin was in the power position of the Alliance, the rest of the Alliance voted out Dr. Mike, and he was safe in the revote. So a fantastic play by him. For people who did not watch that season, that was one of the all-time best plays of that season. So we've seen it work before. The problem is he didn't tell anybody before Tribal that he was doing it. He just did it at Tribal. It was an innate move by him to do it at Tribal. What Sophie does here is she immediately tells MC this plan of, I'm going to throw a rogue vote at Jawan. You don't have to do it. I'm doing it. Why are we telling MC this? Why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense.
I think Sophie thought her and MC were good, and I thought they were good. I thought they were fine. There was no indication that they weren't fine. And I thought that Sophie and MC had the power in this situation. I really did, because they were terrified for whatever reason that the former 3 Uli members were going to kind of fall back to each other, which I thought was a strange read considering what just happened 24 hours ago. I did not understand that whatsoever. So the reason why I think Sophie's move was fine and MC's was bad, because MC's the one who panicked. I don't like telling, I don't like sharing the information about the rogue vote, but to me, the way I saw it was that MC was trying to save herself by telling Jawan and kind of push the blame off of her, when in reality, if she didn't say anything, the plan was fine. Rizzo was going to play the idol or go home. In either way, it was fine. Nothing bad was going to happen. It was either Jawan was going home or Rizzo was going home, and Sophie and MC were safe. By MC going to Jawan and saying that, it was a gamble, mostly for Sophie, but also MC, because it felt like desperation. What is she doing? Is she even telling us the truth? It just felt super weird to me.
Here's the issue with that. You cannot tell MC in a tribe of 5. You can't do it. You cannot do it, because MC has to try to save herself in any way, shape, or form. If she sees that, okay, Rizzo plays his idol, it's 1-1 on Sophie and Jawan, that's just one less person who might be safe. Because in a situation where they can't decide who to go home, those 2 people become immune. So in a situation where there's so little people here, if you're Yellow Sophie, you cannot tell anyone they're going to throw a rogue vote on them, because it could bounce back on them. So in MC's mind, okay, she might throw a rogue vote on Jawan, but heck, Rizzo might vote my name now, and then it's another tie. So you don't know for sure. They're telling Rizzo to vote Sophie. Rizzo could easily have voted MC. In fact, he did vote MC. Spoiler alert. But in MC's mind, she can't just assume that this plan's going to be perfect, and Rizzo's going to play his idol, and it's going to be 1 vote for Jawan. That's a rogue vote from Sophie, and then 1 vote for Sophie. She can't assume it's going to happen. So in her mind, in a tribe of 5, where 1 person's probably safe with the idol, and then 2 people else might have 1 vote on them, it only takes 1 vote really for her to be screwed. So of course that she's going to try and throw this on Sophie. So I didn't mind that play. Again, my issues with her was she blatantly told Jawan 1 tribal earlier that she doesn't really trust him enough to keep her idol. So then,
my thing, Mike, here's the problem with what you just said. If it was a tie between Rizzo and Jawan, or excuse me, Sophie and Jawan, yes, then wouldn't Rizzo, Sage, and MC vote? One of those 2 people?
Rizzo and Sage, yes. No, Rizzo, Sage, and MC would vote. Yes.
Yeah. So then she's fine. That's kind of my whole problem with this whole situation. She was fine. She was fine. I hear what you're saying.
Well, not necessarily.
But if it was a tie, Explain.
Because, well, we saw what happened. He didn't vote Sophie. So their plan was, hey,
Oh,
Rizzo.
no. I'm talking about in this situation. We'll get to why this fell sideways. I'm talking about the initial plan.
Yes,
I think she was fine.
The initial plan, she was fine if Rizzo was going to vote out Sophie, which he didn't end up doing. So their plan, which in a perfect world, yes, MC would have been fine. The problem is Rizzo's a smart player. He assesses that MC is the biggest threat. So his vote's going on MC tonight. And because of that, if you're MC, why wouldn't you want to flip this on Sophie, who's overplaying, to put it in Juwan's hands? She's telling people she's going to vote rogue, which you don't really do normally. You don't tell people, hey, I'm going to throw a rogue vote at somebody who's in our alliance that we're working with. You don't tell people that, obviously. So
I think my only criticism of what you're saying is, let's assume that they're going with the plan. MC doesn't say anything. I just really don't think Juwan and Sage changed their mind. I don't know who Rizzo votes for, but I don't think they changed their mind. I think Rizzo gets all the votes on him and it gets flushed. That's my problem with it. Is if they just committed to the plan. They never committed to it.
Let's play your scenario. If we play your scenario and MC says absolutely nothing, the only person that benefits is Sophie. That's the only person that benefits. Because she said what she said, it's like word vomit. The only person that really got screwed here, now again, MC went home, but because of the word vomit that Yellow Sophie says to MC, it all ends up getting back to her. So Yellow Sophie tells MC, who tells Juwan, who tells Sage, and then Sage tells Yellow Sophie. So Sophie immediately now knows, oh my gosh, it's like a game of telephone. I totally got screwed by opening my mouth even to anybody. So in a tribe of 5, you can't do that because we just saw what happened. It gets around it, literally everybody. So even though she was trying to tell one person, she basically told the entire tribe, which I can't feel bad for her because in my opinion, it was a bad game move to even tell anyone you're going to vote rogue. That, in my opinion, I said it came back to her. It came right back on her. So everyone now in the tribe knows. Even Savannah probably knew. She probably found it, and she found out she came later.
Yeah, so probably.
It was I thought it was overplaying. Again, should MC have probably kept her mouth shut? Yeah, probably. But I think ultimately all that benefits is Sophie. It would have been a perfect game move from Sophie had theoretically MC not told anybody. But because she told somebody, Sophie almost got herself voted out because Juwan's now looking at her, even though she's not out now. Juwan is now looking at Sophie directly in the eyes as a shark. He even called her a shark. She's like, oh, she's overplaying right now. She's scary. She's dangerous. She didn't really have that stigma. All she had was she's good in balancing competition. That's really all she had is her shtick right now. People were scared of her for that. Now they're scared of her because of her strategy. And she's like, oh, she's got this Devin from Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers in her. She's got some legit gameplay in her. She didn't have to go out and tell anybody that. Not in a tribe of 5 where you're in the majority. And if something goes wrong, you have a chance to throw a rogue vote and not tell anybody you throw a rogue vote. And then that would save you at tribal council if something went wrong like that. With the whole day to go, there's no reason to just spill out a plan B and C and D to everybody. That's not how you do it in a tribe of 5 with that many less people there.
Yeah, I just thought if MC kept her mouth shut, then what we're looking at is Sophie's the new biggest threat heading into the next tribal, and MC's kind of coasting. And I thought that was the best move for her because entering tribal, I thought MC actually did enough. I thought Sophie was going home. So we get to tribal here. Let's just transition to tribal.
Yeah.
And it is ridiculous. So first thought, Nate with a stunning resemblance to Giancarlo Esposito. I was like, oh my God, is this Gus from Breaking Bad? I just couldn't believe it. I loved it. But anyway.
I didn't think it was Nate. I was like, who's this guy?
Seriously. Sophie. Sophie starts like immediately just kind of subtweeting everyone around her, which I never think is a good idea because I don't know. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. I don't know if they're like told to make these discussions interesting because we've talked about it. I would be so bland. I would give nothing. I think it's dumb to give anything here.
They've been mostly bland this season. They've been mostly bland. So
yeah. For the most part, it's been pretty paint by numbers. But for some reason, Sophie's trying to star on the show again here. Yeah. She's like, God, I just want screen time. I'm going to just go off the rails here. Yeah. So she's looking at MC and she's like, well, it's us. And I'm like, what? Why would you say that? I just thought that was doing a little bit too much. And maybe this was performative. Maybe we'll get like a back edit. It didn't feel like it in the moment because, my God, would this be a hell of a performance? It really just felt like Sophie was word vomiting at the worst possible time. That sparks whispers between MC and Rizzo, and then that's kind of isolating Sophie. Sage and Juwan get in, then Savannah gets in, and then all of a sudden it flips. Then they start talking to Sophie, and Rizzo's kind of isolated. And Rizzo looks a little bit
He's like,
confused about
like,
all of this. There's just endless whispers. So at the end of it, when it's all said and done, Sophie was somewhat isolated. Rizzo was somewhat isolated. And MC was kind of the one talking to everybody. So I thought that was a little bit
that
weird.
told me that MC's going home. I think that she knows
that did as well. I thought for a second maybe this was all a ploy to try to get Rizzo not to play the idol. I thought that crossed my mind. But the more MC was talking and the more whispering that was happening,
I was like,
it was clear to me that she felt like she was in trouble.
Yep.
So
and she was right. She was. Yeah, she wasn't.
She was 100% right. Savannah saves the vote, and then it's pretty standard. MC votes out Sophie, but the rest of the votes fall on MC, and she goes home. And entering this episode, MC would have been really low on my list of people I thought was going home, because based off of her calm performances, I thought she could have won immunity. I thought she was pretty good in her alliance. I didn't think people thought of her physically the way they once did, particularly because she didn't really do well today whatsoever. And last comp wasn't she did well, but her team lost.
Her team lost the puzzle, yeah.
Yeah, so she wasn't able to really kind of show out there. But not one vote was cast against Rizzo, which I thought was unbelievable. If you, Mike, here's a stat. Heading into this episode, if I told you there was not a single vote cast against Soph, Savannah, or Rizzo, you would have thought that a tsunami took over the island and the season was over. An act of God would have had to happen.
No, I would have told you that the tribes were split in two and Rizzo played his idol. That's what I would have told you.
or something along that nature. But even then, you probably would have thought at least there were votes against Rizzo. They tried to get him out.
Yes,
there was not a single vote attempted at any of those three.
Correct.
That felt inconceivable heading into this episode. And somehow it happened. And afterwards, Rizzo was looking around like he just won a marathon or something. Like he just achieved this amazing achievement. He looks both out of breath, amazed, and bewildered all at the same time. He's looking around like, I cannot believe I just pulled this off. I texted you. I believe it was in the middle of all these spats with MC, Sophie, Sage, Jawan, Rizzo on the beach. This might have been even before Savannah got there. I said, I understand it now if they invited him back just off this episode, because this was top tier gameplay from Rizzo. But that circles back to the point that I've been saving this entire time. I said it last week. I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it because my God, is it frustrating. Mike, wouldn't this episode have been a hell of a lot better if we thought there was a chance in hell that Rizzo was going home?
Absolutely. Because we know he's on 50, would he have gotten idled out, or not even idled out, but gone home with an idol in his pocket? Really? Would he have gone home with an idol in his pocket? Probably not. So I'm sitting here saying it's MC or Sophie. That's why I texted you in the middle. I said, I'm losing a draft member tonight. I'm losing one of the people on my team. Rizzo's not going home. Either he's playing the idol or he's not going to go home with an idol in his pocket. He's on 50, for crying out loud. He's not going to go home. So now, if I did not know what happened in the season, if I was going in totally blind and he did not play his idol, which he didn't, I texted you. I said, see, here's where I would say he's cooked. He's probably going to go home. Because I figured the same thing like you. At Tribal Council, I thought this might be performative. And if it is just a ploy to make him feel comfortable, hey, it's me or you, we're going home tonight, and Rizzo thinks he's controlling the vote and doesn't play his idol, that's a perfect time to then pile up all the votes on Rizzo. They didn't do it. It wasn't performative. Rizzo, in fact, controls the whole vote, flips it on MC, doesn't even play his idol, and goes from bottom to top in one fell swoop. Again, had I not known he was on 50, I would have been like, there's no way this is happening at all. There's no chance he's able to flip this all on MC, not get a single vote attempted to him, who's on the bottom, and keep his idol that everyone knows he has. That I would have been like, there's no chance that happens. But like you said, and we were texting about it in the middle of the Tribal Council, we know he's on 50. We know he's on 50 for a reason. And this could have been the reason, possibly, that he got on 50, because that's not going home. It's the fact that he didn't have a single vote attempted against him. He kept an idol that everyone knows he has, and he got out his intended target. Last week's episode, Sage and Jawan, who were running the ship, didn't even get out their target. Their target was Savannah. They missed. They got made.
That's a great point.
He gets out MC, who he correctly says that's the biggest threat of the. I mean, the other tribe wants us to get out Yellow Sophie because she's a big threat. Why are we going to do their? Why are we?
And Mike, to make it worse, Nate intellectually, I think, was a half step ahead of Savannah.
Yeah.
Physically, I think Savannah was about 3 or 4 steps ahead of Nate. So not only do they not get their intended target out, their intended target goes, wins an advantage, and gets to keep the advantage. So now, here's what we're looking at here. Basically,
real quick, would Native won that
challenge? Go.
Real quick, would Native won that challenge today with the pole with standing on your feet on the?
No. He would have been probably the first person out.
So they could have got Nate out today. They could have literally waited one tribal and get him out. They again keep going. It's just whatever. Bad play by them last week, but I digress.
So here's where we're at right now. So there were 10 people left. Now there's 9. So you would think that it's still 6-3 and they're in a power position, but hold on. No, not really. No, because Soph has an advantage that no one knows about, that she can steal an idol. Yep. And as you mentioned, the tea leaves are already there that perhaps Alex tells Soph, and Soph uses her knowledge as power advantage and is able to steal an idol. So there's that. Savannah has an extra vote and just won immunity, so she now is showing some talent in these competitions. Rizzo still has his idol and is one of the more complete competitors on this season. He did poorly today, as do all of the taller men do in this kind of competition. So I wouldn't really hold that against them. None of them ever do well here. So there's that. So now this 6-on-3, if you count Savannah's extra vote, is starting to look more like a 6-on-4. And then you add Rizzo's idol into it. You add Soph's potential idol, like it's kind of there, but it's not. Oh,
by the way, real quick, not to cut you off. What do people usually do in 6 versus 3? They split votes. 3 on them, 3 on them. And then their 3 votes won't matter. We'll just revote and put out whoever we want. So normally what they do in a 6-on-3 is they put 3 votes on somebody, 3 votes on somebody else. With Rizzo's idol, which they don't have to even, honestly, surprised, they don't have to use that idol next week. They have a voting block of 4 with Savannah's extra vote that she kept. They could throw 4 votes on somebody from the other side of the 6, and it would be 4-3-3. And there would be 10 votes at tribal with a tribe of 9. So theoretically, they could.
And Mike, I think you just spoiled what's about to happen, because I was going to say it too. That was my next word. You took them out of my mouth.
But you agree. You normally in a tribe of 6, in a 6 minority, they go, okay, girls vote them, guys vote them. It's 3 versus 3. Their voting block of 3 means nothing. We can just vote out whoever we want. That's typically how it happens. Even if that doesn't happen, there's paranoia of, well, it's going to be 3-3-3. Maybe one person slips. But now the advantage that we just got in this episode, where she keeps her vote, is because, like we said earlier, sometimes these extra votes, they have to be used by a certain time. It's like you have to use it by this vote. Now she can use it whenever she wants to. And next tribal, the one after that, she could use it for that time too. So they don't just have a voting block of 3; they have a voting block of 4 against a tribe that might split votes, and who knows what happens then. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the tribe of 3, even if I didn't know who won 50 and who was on next season, they would be in a better spot than they were obviously last week, because they have Rizzo's idol still in play. Like, again, had we not known that Rizzo's on 50, we would be sitting here saying, regardless, praise him for still having his idol here. I mean, we would still be saying that. And then obviously Savannah,
we'd be wanting him on 50 regardless.
We would exactly be saying that right now. And then Savannah still having that vote that she kept, smart play by her to not use it right now, which she didn't have to. It was a dog pile on MC, so she didn't have to use a vote tonight. So she still has that idol. Plus, they don't know that she wasted it, because Jeff said that's 4, that's enough. He didn't say that's all the vote, or he said that's 3, that's enough. So he didn't say that her vote wasn't in there. So they don't know that she still doesn't have the vote or not. But yeah, 100% that this is a better spot for those 3 people. And you've seen the previews. I don't know if you watched the previews or not, but Rizzo, Blue Soph in this case, and Savannah are like, we can run the game. We're in a good position right now. And they're in a 3 versus 6 minority. And they're saying that because they have, they have the jewelry on them.
It's just ridiculous that they're saying this.
Yeah, but they have a knowledge is power. They have an extra vote, and they have an idol. They have all the jewelry. They have all the bling bling, besides Kristina, who really we don't care about. And that's basically what it is right now. It's a 3v6, but the 3 people have all the power.
And there's no real benefit. Yeah, there's no real benefit of doing a 4-on-2 on them either. They wouldn't really think to do that. There's no need to. Unless they think there's an extra vote out there, but why would they? There's no indication of that.
No indication of an extra vote. Again, the only person that knows it is her and Rizzo, because she had it at treatment and she told Rizzo. That's the only people that know. So it's much better than like an idol out in the open, which Kristina has. Not an idol out in the open, but she has an idol that 3 people know about. Rizzo's idol everyone knows about, but he's still here. He survived 2 tribal councils without a single vote on him, and everyone knows he has an idol. So clearly he's doing something right. And yeah, I think that my guess is right now, the 3 people that are on the bottom, quote unquote, are just better players, and they have the advantages. And the people of 6 here have already purged one of their own, and they didn't even force Rizzo to use his idol to do so. Normally, if you want to get one of your own out, it's like, okay, put some votes on Rizzo. That if he doesn't use it, he's going home. And if he does use it, we have a contingency plan to vote out one of our people that we don't actually trust. They did neither of that. They got out MC, who was Rizzo's intended target, not Sage and Juwan. Sage and Juwan said, you know what, getting rid of Rizzo is good for your game, Rizzo. It's not good for my game. And she's in the majority, and yet she caved and followed Rizzo's plan. So it was for Sage and Juwan. I don't really understand why they would get rid of MC when MC is the one that came to them with information about Yellow Sophie. They did what Rizzo wanted them to do, and credit to Rizzo for making OG Uli, who blindsided him 24 hours ago in their world, to just go follow along with his vote the very next tribal. It was impressive stuff. I don't know if the people in the 6 know what they're doing though. I think the people in the 6, there's some bad players in that 6 there.
Oh, I think they all are, except perhaps Steven, who I want to talk about real fast.
Yep.
Because I said at the beginning he was getting this mastermind edit, if you will. He loses his number 1 in MC. He has no idea about it. I think more than anyone, Steven is going to be the most interesting person to kind of follow up with after this episode, because it could go one of two ways. He could still think he's running things, like, okay, but if he learns that Rizzo still has his idol, there's going to be a lot of dissension within that 6 as well. So not only is the 3 minority in a good position, the amount of questions that are going to spurn out of this, many from Steven, but I bet you Alex and Kristina will have some as well in particular, it's going to cause friction. It really is, because how in the world did you guys manage not to at least flush the idol? It's bad enough he's still here, but you didn't even flush his idol? Like, it doesn't really make conceivable sense.
When Juwan and Steven link up, like I mentioned, they showed a lot of those guys in the pre-challenge, which was the only time that we even saw the whole tribe together, was before the challenge started. So we saw a lot of Steven, Juwan, who, remember, we know Steven and Juwan have a connection because they voted together to vote out Shannon. They voted together to vote out Nate. So they've already picked off 2 OG Uli members. So Juwan is fully away from Uli, and he's with Steven. Him and Steven are boys. MC and Steven are boys. So I figured, okay, if Steven sees that his number 1 MC, or at least one of his number ones, either it's MC or Juwan, MC is gone. That's one of his close members. What is Steven going to do when he links up with Juwan and be like, hey, Juwan, what happened? Why is MC gone? Why is Rizzo A still here and B has an idol? And now they have an extra vote. Like, what? He's going to be, because again, he had no control over this. He couldn't save MC. He wasn't even a tribal. So he didn't hear all the conversations that Savannah heard and that Rizzo heard. Like, he didn't have that advantage that they did, obviously. So yes, his tribe won tribal immunity, but he really needed to be in the conversations. He needed to see what happened, because he correctly says, I'm kind of running the show now. In the pre challenge, you already highlighted it, that Steven's like kind of telling everybody, hey, I'm kind of running the show right now. But he didn't get to hear any of the conversations that happened after the challenge and during tribal. So, and his number 1 went home. So he's not in as good a position as he was obviously 24 hours ago. And I'm very interested to see how he and Juwan link up and what the kind of damage control is there. Because now Juwan's having to do back-to-back damage control. One on Savannah and Rizzo, who he blindsided last tribal. Now he has to go back to camp and say, yeah, Steven, Alex, Kristina, sorry guys, we voted out MC. Whoops.
Well, that's where I was going. I think Sage and Savannah are going to have to answer for this. I think Sophie might be able to skate free. We'll see.
Sage and Juwan.
Sage and Juwan, excuse me, yes. I think Sophie might be able to, or whatever you want to call them. She'll be able to. Yeah, I'm so sick of it. One of them needs to go. But regardless, Yellow Sophie, I think, can skate free. Sage and Juwan are probably going to have to answer for this a little bit more, particularly Juwan, as you mentioned. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because Juwan looks like he was in a decent position, and he's complaining about everyone else overplaying. This is why I brought this up. Yes, I think he's overplaying. I think not only he's overplaying, but he's overplaying poorly, which I think is kind of the worst thing to do. He's trying to make these moves for the sake of building a resume, but the actual moves aren't it. They're just not benefiting him the way he thinks. He doesn't really have a read on everyone else around him. So he's achieving, in a way, kind of what he wants to do, but it's not to his own benefit. No. It's like he can claim that he helped get MC out. Okay, cool. But you wanted to get Rizzo out. So what does that actually do? And everyone else knows this. So it's not a surprise to anyone else. I'm over him. But Mike, before we wrap up the last portion of our pod here, our fantasy survivor update. So you lose another member, as you alluded to here. So MC is gone. You are down to Savannah, who I think if we redrafted should be the number 1 draft pick today. Alex and Sophie. Yellow Sophie, that is. I'm just going to do the color thing as well. I tried to do the Sophie Soph thing. I
Yeah.
lost it halfway through. It's too complicated. Anyway, my team in a little bit better of shape. So I have Blue Sophie. I have Riz God. Those are
Yeah.
two people that I really want right now.
Little
So
redraft.
I'm glad I have the majority there. I have Jawan, who seems like he's on the out. But I have Steven and Kristina, who just got an idol. So that's pretty cool. And then Sage, who your mom drafted, she picked her up anyway. An undrafted move. Look, if we did it over again, I still wouldn't pick Sage. There's no world where I was picking Sage, but it's kind of entertaining that she's still here. And you mentioned your mom's like, can I pick up Sage? Because it looked like Sage was having a few good episodes, but now Sage is someone I just wouldn't want on my team either way.
Yeah. She's still in a better spot than some people here, but I still wouldn't pick. First of all, we didn't talk about Alex at all in this episode. Had I not known who won, I would be saying here right now, again, not knowing if Alex was on 50 or not, I would say Alex is playing a pretty good game. Like, I think he's playing pretty well. He's a social butterfly. He's not on anyone's radar yet. Again, I think there is an impending, eventually people are going to start looking Alex's way. But right now it's like the big threats are Savannah, Rizzo, and then the other side, you got Jawan is making hayway. He's overplaying, like you said, to everyone else. Steven's kind of in control. Like, I think, and here's not to spend too much time on Alex because we didn't really get much of it in this episode, other than he saw who found the idol, and he's he's a good social player from what it seems like. Jawan, I think that he's in the most interesting spot outside of Steven too, because I think Jawan he is now voted with Steven and Old Hina and betrayed his OG alliance. He's now then voted with Rizzo again. So what does Jawan do in this scenario? Does he immediately go back to the Power 6, or does he and Sage, who kind of mended fences with Rizzo? I don't think Sage will ever vote with Savannah again, but they did vote out the intended target of Rizzo and Savannah. So it just feels like, is there any cracks that maybe maybe Savannah and Rizzo say, let's put everything behind this, guys. Let's reconnect with Sage and Jawan, and we have Blue Sophie here, or Soph in this case. We have a 5. Let's do it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think Jawan has avenues. It's like, he's kind of pissed off both sides. He could be the one next, but he also could be like, if he does it right, if he can rekindle enough relationships, maybe he could still find himself in the Power 5 or 6, whatever we're in now.
Let's wrap up with the same thing we've been doing the last few weeks here. The better and worse position. We know who's in a better position, but let's do it like this. We talked about how there's an impending 4-vote block, essentially, with the 3-person minority of Blue Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo. There's 1 immunity there, perhaps 2.
Yeah.
Who do you think is atop their target list? Because I think the easy answer is Yellow Sophie, who Savannah clearly has disdain for. I think another easy answer is Steven, who thinks he's running the show. He's done pretty well in the comps, give or take.
Yeah.
And I think Savannah tried to build a rapport with him, but who knows? That could be to just bite him in the neck and him not see it coming. But I want to throw this out at you, and I want to hear your thoughts on all of what I'm saying here. I wouldn't be shocked if they targeted Jawan for this reason. The enemy you don't know is scarier than the enemy you do. They know Steven's coming after them. They know Sophie's coming after them. Jawan is flipping and flopping all over the place.
Totally.
And I think at this point, Savannah knows Sage isn't really with her. I think she's kind of clocked that finally. It took her long enough, but I think she's finally there. Jawan's the one, it seems like they don't really know how to read because of that.
Yeah.
Should they just cut him out at this point?
Yes, they should. He's also, I didn't mention it because we already got past our tribal point, but Jawan's very goofy at tribal. He kind of blurts things out unintentionally or intentionally. I have no idea, but he's like, no, Uncle Jeff, don't tell him that. I'm trying to be deceptive. And then he's like actively being deceptive and then putting on a performance. I'm like, Jawan's this is like 3 tribals, maybe 2 out of 3 tribals. I've seen Jawan kind of, again, I don't want to coin his own word of overplaying, but he's being very performative at tribal. I don't know if it's intentional or not, or unintentional. But either way,
Mike, can we bring this up? Because I don't think a lot of people know this, but we do, because we talked about it at the time. In 47, it felt like there was a push to get Gabe out that no one really understood. It was poorly edited. No one really understood why all of a sudden he was a good competitor, but it felt like it was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And after the season it came out, some of the people within the contestants on that season revealed that the reason why they wanted Gabe out, there was this kind of faction forming against him, was because he was so eloquent at tribal that they were really scared if he kept winning and made it to the final tribal that he was going to win because he was such a good speaker. Juwan is not such a good speaker, but I think it's kind of the same vibe, but for the opposite reason. I think he's too loose-lipped at tribal, so that makes it scary to work with him at that point. So it's kind of the opposite. It's the same kind of vibe of tribal does matter quite a bit, and what Senate tribal does matter. It could be as simple as you speak too well, or it could be as simple as you're kind of off the rails.
Yeah,
but it matters all the same.
It matters, especially for Juwan, because he's now worked with both sides. So both sides should be looking at him as like, can we really trust Juwan at tribal to not just spell out everything? So Steven should be saying that, Kristina should be saying that, and then obviously his OG members, Savannah and Rizzo, they're like, wait, Juwan is almost a little bit too loose-lipped at tribal. So both sides of the spectrum here that are going at each other should both be saying the exact same thing about Juwan. So that's why I believe he very well could be next, and he probably should be next because I think he's too untrustworthy. I think he's overplaying. I think he's been a little messy. Yeah. And again, I think
but he doesn't see it that way. He's seeing himself as the most laid back. He's the one being targeted. He's just playing defensively. That's how he sees it.
Yeah.
In reality, it's quite the opposite, where he's being too offensive.
Being the aggressor, yes.
And it's just kind of going sideways.
No, I think Alex and Steven are more in the shadows than he is. I think Juwan's like, hey, I'm a big target. Come get me.
I would agree with Alex, even though physically it's still going to be a detriment to his game. He can't control how jacked and big he is.
Right, but he's not blurting things out to the wrong people.
No, he's at least kind of delaying the inevitable, it feels like.
He's more in the shadows. He's more in the shadows.
Which, again, could be useful, because if Alex can delay it to a certain point and just win out, then, you were a big guy that people kind of took lightly and you won out when it was obvious.
Yeah, let them fire the shots at the untrustworthy people who are saying too much things. Like that's what I'm saying. Juwan and Sage could get themselves in trouble just by speaking. Sophie too could have got herself in trouble tonight by saying too much, but she got saved by Rizzo and company. But
Steven, I think, is too in the other camp. I think he's shown his colors too many times here, no pun intended. I think that could come back against him, because I think, to me, heading into next episode, the three people really in trouble are Steven, Yellow Sophie, and then Juwan. I think that's the three. I would be fairly surprised if anyone else went home. It would have to be a complete self-destruction.
At this time next week, if it's not one of those three people, and I had that written down exactly right, I had Yellow Sophie, Steven, and Juwan, not in that order, but I think Yellow Sophie's game, again.
Put them in order, Mike. What's the order?
Here's the thing with Yellow Sophie, real quick, before I put them in order. Yellow Sophie could have a free trip to Final Five just as like a drug her along, because eventually they're not going to all be balanced things. They're going to be, there's other things that are going to be getting involved. I think Rizzo genuinely does want her as a number, even though she kind of gave him the cold face. Juwan's more tricky to read, which I think was why he would be first for me. If I had to order him, I think he would be first. I think this time next week, I think, because I think ultimately, real quick too, Juwan got bailed out by a tribe of 5. I think if this was a larger tribe and Juwan started getting crazy eyes with the with someone saying decoy and then throw a rogue vote on Juwan, I think if he was doing that in a larger scale, maybe Juwan would actually get a pin back on him. I think MC unfortunately got screwed. Yeah, MC got screwed because there's only 5 people left, and she didn't have Steven to kind of help save her with the numbers there, so she didn't have the numbers to save herself, essentially. I think Juwan had the numbers to save himself, even if he screwed up in this episode, because Rizzo didn't want to vote him out. He wanted MC out from the beginning. Sage wouldn't turn on him, so he had the majority 3 in the 5 anyway, so he was not going to get voted out, even if they wanted him out. So I think now in a larger, with 9 people left, if they really wanted to get Juwan out, they can get Juwan out. That's why I think he would be top of my list, and then I think it would be Yellow Sophie and then Steven. But those could go either way.
I think my top would be Yellow Sophie. I think it's just too much word vomit with her. I think she's too all over the place. I think it'll turn the other people in her alliance the wrong way. And I still think if she goes, they'll think they're in a fine position, because it'll be 5-on-3. And maybe they say
you're saying
the other side, the minority threw a haymaker, and they're going to keep kind of killing off their own numbers. That's what it feels like to me is going on. Yeah. And they're a little oblivious to it because, there is a lot of game left, sure. But at some point, if you're that terrified of Savannah and Rizzo, you're going to have to get them out before it becomes a little bit more even playing
So
field.
you're saying that the 6 will just turn on Yellow Sophie and just vote her out? Then
I think there's a chance. That's why she's won. I think go either way. Obviously, the more likely path is the one we've laid out
yeah.
multiple times. But I think there's also a world where everyone's just like, God, is she annoying? And then they kind of just join in on it. So that's why she's my one. I don't think that would happen with Juwan per se
Sage really
or
likes her.
Steven.
Yeah, but Sage really likes Yellow
Sage
Sophie.
likes her. I think that's it. I think Kristina's had a riff with her.
Yeah.
I think Alex saw said riff, so
Yeah,
that's
we can
kind
get
of
it done.
weird there.
We can vote, so
So so she's my one. I think Jawan's my two as well. I think if we're thinking this, I trust Rizzo and Savannah as really good game players, so they're probably 3 steps ahead of us.
Yeah.
So I think they're thinking it. And then I'd put Steven on the bottom. He is a good competitor. I think he has okay influence, but not as much as he thinks he does. I think there is a world where Steven kind of just gets isolated at some point. Maybe it's off with Juwan, so maybe it's 2 of them. But I think it's really easy to turn it back on him eventually. They can just say, hey, Steven, little bit too good in these comps. You're a little bit too anti the, 3 minority block there. So I think that's why Steven's a bit in trouble. But I think that might be an episode or 2 down the line.
Plus, they've already voted for him. That talking about Savannah, Blue Sophie, and Rizzo. They've already voted. They've already thrown 3 votes on Steven before. Yeah. But because of that, I think that one of them win immunity next week. I think that either Yellow Sophie, Juwan, or Steven win immunity next week, because I think that it has to be a little. I don't think that Savannah, Blue Sophie, and Rizzo now know they have to win out. Like, I think they feel pretty confident right now because Rizzo kept his idol and he can play it for whoever he wants. And again, I'm still thinking this knowledge of power is going to come into effect here pretty soon. That would be 2 idols in a group of 3 block. And
like, is it crazy to say they'd almost want one of them to win it to simplify things? You almost want less options here. You want it to be a little bit easier.
Absolutely right. It would be way easier if they did that. That's why I really don't know who's going to win next week, but I think it would be between. Usually it's like whenever someone needs it, they win. So my prediction would have been Yellow Sophie because she might just word vomit, be the first one out in the merge. She won immunity, of course. And then this week, of course, Savannah probably needs it the most out of anybody, and she wins it. So my guess would be, of the 6 that we're talking about, I think that Yellow Sophie, Juwan, and Steven are the 3 that I would say that are probably going to be voted out next week. I'll be floored if it's not one of those 3. Yet I also think one of those 3 probably win immunity. I don't think Alex is trying to win yet. He's not going to say it, obviously, but I don't know if he's trying to put a target on his back by winning these immunities until it's like final 6, final 5, final 7. That would be
the perception of the people left that were left on the beach. So that's Steven, Kristina, Alex, and Yellow Sophie. It's going to be really interesting for them. Not so much Yellow Sophie. We know where she lies. But the other 3, their reaction to the Rizzo news. Because are they going to kind of infight? Are they going to think they're in trouble next? I feel like their reaction is really going to tell us who... Because who knows? Maybe Alex is feeling the pressure all of a sudden. He's like, wow, Rizzo escaped. Like, maybe I'm next. There's going to be some paranoia now with this move. So
yeah, either going to be paranoia or possibly just straight up cracks in the alliance, which we've already been foreshadowed with Kristina and Yellow Sophie fighting over nothing. And we've seen the foreshadowing of this 6 is not as tight as you think. And you already see the overplaying from Sage and Juwan. So we've seen that the 6 has some fractures in the group, and more than fractures, like you pointed out, paranoia within the group. Out of almost everybody there's paranoia within the group. I mean, heck, Kristina, who we only talked about once this episode, had paranoia over reward challenge. So there's all kinds of paranoia within the 6. It feels like the people in the 3 are way more calm, cool, and collected. At least Rizzo is. I think Savannah was a little bit freaked out by being spooked that she's on the bottom. She was very spooked that she was not running the game. But I think Blue Sophie, she's been in enough tribal councils at this point where she's seen everything. And Rizzo was not. He was very cool, calm, and collected. The 6 in power have just shown us signs of paranoia throughout the season. So I can't trust them to be a close-knit voting block for 5 straight episodes. I just can't.
Yeah, I can't either. Any final thoughts either on this episode or the game going forward?
Well, in the preview episode, it looked like another one of those endurance challenges, last person left standing kind of challenge. So again, I don't know how that's going to work out, but my final thoughts and possibly going forward was, how in the world does this knowledge is power thing get used? Because we've been hinting at it. The other idol is back in play. Oh, Mike,
now. I forgot to mention this. I think Blue Sophie indirectly caused MC's eviction because by not using the knowledge as power, when she knew MC had it, caused the dissension because all of a sudden MC plays it and oh my god, Joanne's like, oh my god, she didn't tell us. And Sophie can use that to her advantage, and Sage can at least buy that story. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sure that Rizzo would. If he doesn't have his idol, but he could have went home with his idol in his pocket because he was clearly confident. And again, that could be good editing, or he could have really known the entire time. We don't really know. We weren't there, but there's no way he still has his idol if that didn't happen.
There was enough tension between MC and Jawan because of what they showed us in the first 5 minutes of the episode, where it's like Jawan felt a little bit slighted that she did not just vote. She did not keep her idol, and they had it. They had it already. They had the 7 votes that she didn't have to play it. So he felt like she did not trust him, and that's where you see the foreshadowing in later in the episode, where it's like, okay, maybe I just turn around and vote MC out, which is exactly what he did. So I think that I don't think now. Do you think that Blue Sophie intended to do that? Like, do you think that was her intention?
No, obviously not. That's why when I teased it earlier that I was going to say this, I said she failed to the right answer. She kind of failed upward, if you will.
It was like,
so we blasted her for it because it was a bad move, but in a way, it really worked out because it led to arguably the best competitor on the season going home.
Yeah, it's almost like that person who's trying to fail the math test and they just put in they put C in every time, and it's like
C every time, and it just happened to be C every time.
Yeah, oh my god! Decided, you know what? I'm going to put every answer to C this time, and it's like she didn't mean to get all the answers right, but she got all the answers right. So it's like it was a good move that at the time we were bashing because it was like, why would she not just take MC's idol? They'd have 2 idols now, and it could have saved Nate. So obviously we were bashing the move, but ultimately it probably got MC voted out. That's what it did, which is I guess was her intention. I have no idea, but it was an unintended missile that hit MC that I don't think that Sophie was trying to hit MC with it, but it worked.
Yeah, for sure. But sorry I cut you off. Any final thoughts heading into next week? You mentioned the comp. We've seen some of these before where it's like they're holding their body weight at the beginning. It looked like it was a leg press of that. That's what I immediately thought of. But yeah, any thoughts on the game going forward?
No, more so more so on that voting block of 4. I think that they could use that as we don't even have to win immunity because, again, like I teased earlier.
Do you think Alex joins them, by the way?
I do. I think he does. I think he eventually does join them. I think there's enough of that foreshadowing of him and Blue Sophie still being around, still having that connection. And he said, I want the idol out of myself. Like I want the power. I don't want Kristina to have it. I mean, obviously he's with Kristina. They're voting together, but you already heard Alex in the last episode say, I'm just going to vote wherever the majority is. I'm voting with. I'm not going to be.
And Mike, why wouldn't he do it? Because then it's 2-on-2, and Sophie probably latches on to Alex, and at least it's a fair fight at that point.
Correct, absolutely right. I totally agree with that. And again, if there's enough paranoia within the 6, why not jump ship and rock with the guys who have all the advantages and the strategy and the less paranoia? So I totally agree with that. That would be what I'm most interested to see. That, and like we teased earlier, with Steven and Jawan linking back up, what are those conversations like? That's what I want to see, if there's dissension between those 2 guys who are obviously rocking out very hard during the tribe swap. I want to see how Jawan once again manages damage control. He did it fairly well in this episode, although he kind of got bailed out with the tribe swap and the back. We're now no longer merged, so now Jawan has a tribe of 5 instead of a tribe of 10 to damage control people. So I want to see how those 2 things correlate and what happens with Steven and Jawan, and then what happens in the voting block between the minority 3, because it feels like they have all the power despite being on the bottom of a numbers game.
So 9 people left. It looks like we're going to get a straight run through here. It doesn't appear that there's any like double evictions based off the TV guide. So it looks like we're just going to the end here. So it should be fun. The way it's going right now, I'm a little worried it's not as twisty and turny as Jeff made it seem. So far, there's been twists for the sake of twists, but not actually anything that's been too impactful. Hopefully that changes. We want it to change. We want to watch a good show.
It has to.
For the first time today, I haven't watched live a ton. I remember I watched the first episode live. We've been doing this the following day, so I usually watch it on DVR.
Yep.
But I watched all of last season live-ish for the most part, as well as the season prior to that. This was the first live episode I can remember in a long time being pretty invested in the entire time. And that's with knowing the hindsight that Rizzo was fine, and that kind of took some luster out of the ultimate finish of this episode. So I will say, good for 49 finally producing a good episode. It took long enough. I thought last week's was solid. We talked about that. Yeah. This week's was, I'd say good, like actually good. It
Yeah.
wasn't because there was any good gameplay for the most part outside of Rizzo,
Right.
but at least it was entertaining. So as far as new era episodes go, this was above average.
It was good. I mean, it kept me captivated throughout pretty much the whole thing. I mean, maybe a couple of filler things, but other than that, it was a good episode. And again, the merge is always interesting, so I'm not going to give them too much credit for last week's episode. I think this week was a well edited episode. Again, the gameplay was not good other than Rizzo, but overall, we had a lot more strategy. We had an early challenge in the first 15 minutes, and then they left a lot of strategy for the last hour, which we got a lot of bad strategy, which is why we had a lot to talk about today because of Yellow Sophie's kind of meltdown. So overall, all that was good. I've usually been watching the challenge and Survivor both on delay, so I catch up and not have to watch commercials. But I didn't feel like the commercials didn't really hold me down this episode. I was able to get through it without having to complain that I'm live. Oh God, this sucks. So it wasn't.
No, the pacing was good, and obviously every live show now there's a few too many commercials. That's just how it is. Yes. But the pacing was good throughout, and I enjoyed it. And for the first time, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of interested how this ends. And again, we kind of sort of know how it ends.
I hate that. Yeah.
But at least now I'm invested. And it helps you get invested for 50 as well, because you want to see how these arcs finish. Maybe someone else was more deserving of that spot, so there's always that. Doesn't necessarily mean one of them win either. They could finish late and the winner just didn't want to go on. So there's all these possibilities here. Obviously, they're going to place decently well, but who knows? So there's a lot to look forward to.
Oh, by the way, had I known that Genevieve was going to be top 5 finisher, had we known she would be on 50, would we have been as invested in that season immediately knowing that Genevieve's going to come back? Like, I think it's just better not to know. Like, I would have rather gone to this episode not knowing who was going to stay. Like, I would have been like, oh, wow.
We also probably would have picked Genevieve to lose later. We probably would have thought it was like Rachel cut her off or something late. Like, we wouldn't have expected her to go down the way she did. So,
if I knew Kyle and Camilla were both on 50, I would not be as shocked when they pulled that move over Thomas and idled him out. I would be like, oh, well, they're on 50, so of course they idled him out. Like,
and that was massive. That was really big. Fortunately, at least Rizzo and Savannah weren't in position that early this season to do something like that. So it doesn't kill the joy a ton. But these next few weeks, when stuff's going to go down, it's probably going to go in their favor. So that's the only thing that is a little bit of a bummer. But at least we can enjoy the journey. We've talked about it. This is a pit stop to 50. When 50 is on, we'll probably do 3 pods a week. It's going to be ridiculous. We're going to be talking about it constantly. But right now, it's just kind of getting through the season. We're enjoying it, but yeah, what are you going to do?
We're weeding off the fat right now. We're kind of just, let's just get to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We should be live next week. We'll let everybody know, but this went pretty smoothly, all things considered. We're going to try to add TikTok to the live rotation as well. Right now, we're live on YouTube. We're going to try to add TikTok. We're going to try to add probably Instagram as well. It's not super easy to link all those things at the same time. I was trying to figure it out earlier. I couldn't. You have to allow some permissions. Some of these companies take a few days. So we'll be live everywhere eventually, and we'll start doing some chat segments at the end. I'm sure people will start commenting and stuff once we get more viewers and whatnot. So that'll be fun. Mike, as far as the sports stuff is concerned, we'll be back with another Gurus podcast shortly. I think we're going to do a monthly mailbag next episode. I think we're just going to talk about the random stuff going on in sports that we don't necessarily fit into a traditional Gurus podcast where it's all one topic for the most part. I think we're just going to hit a ton of small stories and go boom, boom, boom and have a good time with that. But anyway, we have a lot in the pipeline right now. We're doing 2 pods a week. This one was live. The next one obviously won't be, but it will be available on YouTube and Spotify. I'll probably get this one up on Spotify as well. We've done great over there. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. I have some YouTube videos still in the pipeline. I scrapped one of them, but I still have some more. Yeah, I can't go ahead at him so far. I do want a job in the NBA one day. So that's to the side. But regardless, I still have the Dreamcast for Big Brother Second Chances. I've been working on that for a while. Just working out some final kinks, and then that'll be up. And then some other stuff as well that I'll be a little more secretive with. But regardless, a lot going on over here in Gurus Land. So as for Mike Testa, I'm Xavier Aguirre. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time.